The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Friday, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do.
You know, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, to quote a very famous opening, huh? This is a tale of two cities, the city of the rich and the city of the poor. And as Marie Antoinette once said, as someone said in the city council, let them eat cake.
Let them eat cake.
And remember what happened to her.
Off with her head.
Boom, the guillotine. That's what should happen to these people.
Well, last night was an interesting night because last night was the South End Neighborhood Association meeting where two developers spoke to the audience and answered questions. The first one was Mr. DeRosa's, who already had one project that failed with the King Philip Mill. Now he's got to rebid on this one. And now he wants to go to 190 market rate units.
We never have enough.
Okay?
We just never.
In two mills. And he's going to make open space where the third mill is. And then there's Mr. Kafori, who wants to knock down the two mills and make 26 or 28 single-family home units and open up part of that space for open space and leave the third mill open for industrial use. That's what I want in my single-family neighborhood.
Well, you remember their theory. Build it and they will come. So we got all this market rate housing where all these people that have income move into the city, and we get this big influx, and all of a sudden all the poor people disappear, and all the retirees just get priced out and have to sell their houses to these rich people for virtually nothing because you've taxed them out of existence. But it's not working. This morning I went online and I checked the U.S. Census Bureau statistics. I hadn't done them in a while, and the average household income in Fall River went up about $1,500 over the last couple of years. Oh, that's not a lot of money. It's still 30, barely over 36. It was 34 something. And so obviously we're not getting a heck of a lot of rich people in this city. We're not even close to the state average, which is up around 70,000. So, I mean, we're still like 50% less than the state average, not the more affluent, not the top end. But remember, this is my segue, CJ. But remember, we have to pay our crack financial team we got to be competitive, which is crap, okay? That's absolute baloney because, this is a capitalistic society. You pay what you charge what the market can bear, and you pay what the market. You cannot expect to get San Francisco and LA wages and New York City wages and Boston wages in Fall River. At least you can't if you work for a living, because I spent nearly a quarter of a century bargaining with this city, 24 years. And if I got $1 for every time they told me you can't compare yourself to Boston and you can't compare yourself to San Francisco, you have to compare yourself to a city of the same economic situation, you can't expect to get. You want to get that pay, go there. Just like that other one. You don't like it, take off. Poor people and working people don't get paid what they deserve in this community, and that irritates me. Because I fought for pay raises. I didn't hold a sign to get a pay raise. I justified it by showing where we were. And the fact is that it's unconscionable when they use that, when the mayor gets on and uses that. The fact is, Mayor, you should have finished the sentence. People should get paid a comparable salary if they're on my team. If they're not on my team, to hell with them. What was the total salary increase for the the Pinocchio twins?
$73,500.
$73,500. Yet the police officers are not getting paid because they've been without a contract nearly 3 years. They're in arbitration. I know there's a bargaining unit that now is in the school department. They recently formed a union because they've been getting the shaft for well over 20 years. They take care of special needs children. They're highly specialized people, the LPNs and physical therapists and stuff. And they have tremendous relationships with these families. They become part of that family because they're taking care of special needs children. They do a tremendous job. And everybody says they do, including the school department and their bargaining committee. But you know what they told them? They're without a contract. Now, this is to settle an entire contract for a group of people. And right now, and by the way, they're probably one of the lowest paid groups that do these jobs in the state of Massachusetts, if not in the country.
How about comparable wages?
Comparable wages, that's right. No comparable wages for them. But this is the irony, because I know the numbers. $81,000 is the benefit that they're trying to get to upgrade their salaries to something that's even barely livable. And the school department as I said, the irony is the 3 people that are sitting across the table for them are all making 6 figures. But for a group of people, not one, I don't know how many there are, 10, 12 of them, $81,000. So, Mr. Mayor, get your head out of your derriere. Stop celebrating on the 6th floor about the pay raises you gave them for lying for the last 2 or 3 years. And give these people the money they deserve. Settle with the police. And you, council, if you approve a budget with these increases in it, you should all be fired. You should all be recalled. You should all be not elected in the next election. Let the mayor find the $73,500 in his budget. This is ridiculous. You got the police without a contract. You got these people in the school department without a contract. You've got people walking around City Hall making $28,000, $29,000, $30,000. Have been working there for 20-some years, and you give these people this. Let me try to put this in perspective. This is U.S. Census Bureau, based on U.S. Census Bureau. The average individual income, not household, because household's just as bad, but that's taking in 2 incomes in a family. If you're the average in Fall River, you're making $384.62 a week. With this pay raise, Kathy Ann Viveris is making $2,692.31. And let me put this in even a more nauseating perspective. It will take you, the average person in Fall River, 7 years to make what she makes in a year. And that's not dog years either. That's your years. That's employment years. 7 years to make what she's making annually now. Is that fair? No. Should she be getting paid what she's worth? Yeah. But actually, if she got paid what she's worth, she'd take a pay cut. Because our financial team does not deserve any pay raise as far as I'm concerned. They haven't found one way to do anything but figure out how to get more money from the taxpayer. That's not a good financial team. A good financial team is a team that learns how to spend the money of the city wisely, maintain some cap on taxes for the people. That's what a good financial team does. They're nothing but shills for the mayor so he can live like his friend. All his friends live like our former drug czar. They're going to the Ritz-Carlton while we're going to a cardboard box under the bridge. We're on our way. So you know something? If you think I'm angry, you're not even scratching the surface.
I've got my Amana box. Do you have yours?
Yeah, that's it. But this is absolutely, it's an absolute disgrace that he would have the audacity in a community like this with 20, well, that's right, we did drop. We went from 23% below the poverty level to 22. So we still got nearly a quarter of the population below the poverty level. Still got the lowest income, individual and household, but nobody cares. It's like they're all walking around in their own world. And if you think that this city isn't the definition of the haves and have-nots, you haven't been paying attention. And I'll tell you what, all your retirees out there, all these people that can you go to your boss and say you want a $40,000 pay raise or a $33,000 pay raise? You're not even making $33,000. You're making 20 grand. By the way, you want to give me a 150% raise? And by the way, Mary Sahadi's only making $1.20. But remember, when she started, she was making 80. How many of you out there working for a living has had your salary increased by 50% when you only worked for that company for 3 years?
And the best part about it is that $80,000 a year salary was part-time.
That's right.
That was part-time.
So if you put that in that perspective, but forget about it. Give a fool. I don't care. It's like it's still a 50%. Who in the world gets 50% in 3 years?
The city of Fall River gives it to their friends.
That's right. And remember, I got to remind you about this one. Everybody, go back, go in the archives of New Bedford Sunday edition, New Bedford Standard Time Sunday edition, probably 15 years ago. And it's to show you, for the politically connected and the rich, nothing ever changed. Whether you're a mill owner sitting up on the top of the Highlands looking at the people working for like 12 cents an hour in your mills chained to the machines, or now, telling everybody you're going to get them a great job for $11 an hour.
That's it.
You know, yeah, but the reality is that New Bedford Standard Times 15 years ago said, the headline was, if you work for the city, work in New Bedford. If you're an administrator, work in Fall River. Because everybody in New Bedford that worked for the city got more money than the people who worked in Fall River, and all the administrators in Fall River got more than the administrators in New Bedford. So this community has not changed, and it's getting worse. And this kid has absolutely no consideration for anybody. It's like, hey, they deserve it. I said so. They've got to work in comparison. You know what comparisons are? They're political manipulations and absolute bull, S-word. Just like Donald called those countries. That's what it is. Bull. Bull S and about 4 asterisks. You know why? Many years ago when I was doing a contract negotiation, looking up salaries, just as a aside, there was a thing about the trash workers in San Francisco. So I looked up their salaries to show you why salaries are not comparable unless you compare them with cities in the same economic situation, just like tax rates, it depends on the ratio. At that time, the trash pickers in San Francisco were making more than the superintendent of schools in Fall River, the fire chief, the police chief, the mayor, and anybody else in the city of Fall River, and a lot more. Why? You ever try to rent an apartment in San Francisco? You ever try to buy a house in L.A.? Well, you know, if you can't understand that concept, but apparently our millennial mayor, who never had a bill in his life, never had to pay a tax bill, never cashed a real paycheck, doesn't understand it. But you people out there that vote, start remembering this and remember what you're electing now. Given these pay raises in light of the fact that you're trying to get almost a $300 million bond that's going to cripple the people and increase the water rates, it's just unconscionable.
Well, you know, we just received a comment from one of our viewers, Dave, who said all the raises should go to the taxpayers.
Yeah. You're right.
There you go. You're right, Dave. I mean, they all should go to the taxpayers. But I think Mark Monroe Dion said it best. You're a pig and so am I.
Yeah.
And he talks about the bonding issue, which everyone's saying, you know, oh, it's all about the children. No, it's not. It's about the finances. But he says here, and while you're waiting for that tax increase that may be 100 or 130, Kathy Ann Rivera's Fall River's proud city minister, just scored a pay increase. She used to start on $113 a year, but with the recent raise, she's up to $140,000 a year, and now joined the ranks of the working class.
Look, it's amazing how everybody notices it, but the city and our mayor and our council. And you're right. You know, this school bond issue isn't about the school. I'm like, as I've said a million times, and I know you're in favor of education. You got more degrees than a thermometer. So the fact is, I know you're pro-education because, like I said,
I used to be an educator.
You were an educator. You got more degrees than a thermometer. So the fact is that we're not anti-education. My children are both educated with advanced degrees.
You've even got a doctor.
Yeah, and my daughter's got 2 masters.
That's right.
And so it's like, but the fact is that, look, it's not about the education. It's about spending your money. Spending not your money. Well, what a horrible thing. Our money, taxpayer money. It's about spending it wisely. This bond is a money grab. They're going to borrow more than they need, and they're going to skim it, and it's going to fall into the hole that nobody knows. And you know, our financial team will find a way. Just like this team keeps talking about how great we are financially, but we can't afford to take it out of our, as Sean Kadim tried to, take it out of our taxes. I remember sitting in a room when they couldn't afford stamps. They told me, we can't afford the stamps to send out the letters to the people, to the people in the health care. You want to split it and take it out of your fund? And you know what we told them, you know, but you can't afford stamps. So this is you know,
stamps are going up in price
what they're
next week.
What they're saying and what they're doing is 2 different things. And we look back, and the city's always doing, you know, all they know how to do is spend our money. The fact is that there's no regard at all for the taxpayer. Our financial team is nothing more than they spend their entire day figuring out in what way they can grab more money from us until they basically, the city is going to be done. We're going to be Flint, Michigan, because we're going to have people on welfare and rich people and all the people that worked their whole life and lost their houses and shit. I don't know where they're going to be. I don't know where.
Well, what's interesting is on Wednesday's WSAR Will Flanagan show, Councilor Cliff Ponte was there. And I asked a question. And I said, the administration keeps saying it's $100,000 they're going to bond. But the project's going to cost $264 million. Where's the other $164 million going to come from? Because the reimbursement isn't going to be paid until after the project is completed. So where is it going to come from? They're going to have to bond for that. And he acknowledged that they are going to have to bond for that. And understand something. The way the question is worded is to exempt from Proposition 2.5 override the bonds, plural, necessary to build the new BMC Durfee High School at Fall River. Therefore, $264 million will be bonded, and they can, in essence, according to Mary Sahadi, at any time require that assessment to be 100% paid by the taxpayer. So it's not going to cost you $100 or $130 a year. It's going to cost you $400 a year or more. Can you afford that? Can you afford another $150 bucks? $150 a quarter on your tax bill?
Yeah, I love the way they break it by a quarter, because let's add all that.
That's right.
What does that come out to? $600. Divide that, you know, put that in your tax bill, in addition to your increased water fees.
Which the water fee is going up because, like idiots, you approved the $123 million bond for the water department.
And remember, you tenants, you're all going to see it in your rents. This isn't going to go away. I want to build a school. But you know why? You know how I want to? These are the conditions I will vote for that. If they tell me that they're only going to bond for construction that is covered under the reimbursements, they're not going to touch anything, and we'll have to deal with that at a later date. Just like if your roof needs fixing, you know, rather than hire somebody to redo your lawn, you have to get your roofs fixed. Let's just get the physical plant that's covered fixed so the children can learn. Tell me you're gonna only bond for that. Tell me you're only going to bond for the amount that it's going to take to construct it. Don't tell me like Kenny Pacheco did, oh, the last time they had 17 million, they went 17 million over. Well, where did that go, Kenny? Does anybody know? It's just like the 22 windows. Remember those? We still haven't figured out what happened with those. Just like we'll never know where that 17 million went. Well, they're going to get 264 million, and now they're saying they're only going to use 100 million. What's going to happen to the other 164 million? Because just like the road across the trail, remember, you voters don't want it, you're not going to get it. Look what's happened now. They will go back after the rest of that bond. They will go after it.
That's
because,
right.
You know something? Maybe next time Kathy Ann can go up to 200 grand a year.
Yeah, and the worst part about it is, as I said before, that reimbursement comes in after the construction's done. And what happens is that money then goes into the general fund because the bonds cannot be prepaid. They can't be paid early. They're 30-year bonds. People buy them for investments. They get paid annual payments on them. And they want that continuous flow of income, and that's why they buy it, because it's tax-free income.
Yeah.
Somebody actually just sent us a message asking, how much is this election actually going to cost us? They weren't saying how much that was when asked.
Probably about 60,000.
I was going to say, the recall costs about $60,000 for that special election, so it's probably going to cost us about 60 grand.
Yeah, and remember one thing is, you know, we said before.
Unless there's a cost bump in that too.
And remember, they never ever tell you the truth. Our financial team is great. Like when Mary Sahadi, it took her, what, about 3 hours into the meeting or 4 hours into the meeting and 7 dentists to pull out of her teeth that they could go after that 100% of that bond, and they had to bond for 100%. They're not just doing it for 100 million. It's going to be to 264 million because they don't want you to know. Just like they tell you 66. It's not that. Because when they start using bonds, plural, and they start doing things that aren't covered under the reimbursement, we pick up 100%. So when we look at the totality, see, they're not telling you. They're telling you they're dealing with the bondable issues. And they say, oh, they run from 60 to 60. No, because now if you do 5 other things that aren't bonded, and they said bonds, plural, we're picking up 100% of those bonds because we're doing stuff that we're not getting a dime back from the state.
Right, and the thing is that, you know, you had I gave you the book of all the information.
Jazzy ate it.
Did she really?
I started reading it, yeah. She chewed it.
But in that is things that we're not going to get reimbursements for. And those are the nice things, the bells and whistles. Okay, they want to refurbish the pool.
Amenities, the Boston Globe called them. Amenities. Since when does a school become a place where we need amenities?
Right, and this is the problem. If they took out all those amenities, they dumped $1 million into the athletic fields not that long ago, and now they want to redo them all. Again, throwing more money into
And how much have they been utilized? Not a heck of a lot,
right.
Believe me.
Exactly.
And they did that when the city was in financial trouble, that $1 million.
And we're still paying the bonds on that.
That's right.
And the issue is that if they took those items off of this project, they could do this within the tax levy. They'd be able to do it within the tax levy. The problem is they don't want to do it within the tax levy. They want an override. This way it doesn't touch how much money they can bond every year. Because according to Mary Sahadi, they need to bond $10 million every year to stay within their bonding cap. Why do you need to bond $10 million every year? Can't you make your budget work?
Oh, they make it work for themselves. They both got pretty good pay raises, and that's the tragedy of the thing, and let me tell you something. You want to do something? All you property owners out there, some of you who now no longer live in the city, and I don't hold that against you. Matter of fact, I'm probably going to commend you at this point in time, but you don't live in this city. But I know a lot of good property owners who maintain their property, who are very diligent. They're there. They're in Fall River every day looking at their properties, taking care of their properties. They try to take care of their tenants. And what do they get for it? This is what they get. So you know something? I know you can't vote anymore, but I'm gonna tell you right now. Go to every one of your tenants and tell them to get out on March 6th and vote against this thing.
Vote no, definitely. You have to
vote no. Make them build it with the money they have, or make them come back with something that will ensure to you, the taxpayer, and me, the taxpayer,
and the
that they're spending our money wisely and only spending as much as necessary.
And let them know. and let your tenants know you voted yes on the $123 million bond. That's why the water bill went up. And in turn, your rent goes up. When you approve, if you approve this bond for the school, your rent is going to go up tremendously. I've already let my tenants know. If this bond gets approved, you're going to look at about $100 to $150 a month rent raise. And they're like, what? I said, $100 to $150 a month in rent increase. Because basing the water and the sewer, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to look at. Can you afford, if you're a tenant, can you afford $100 to $150 more a month in your rent? Because that's what a yes vote will do.
Of course you
wanna
can.
vote no.
Because it only takes you 7 years to make what Kathy Ann's making. So you got plenty of discretionary money, right? People that are making $20,000 a year got plenty of money to spend. They're making $384 a week. It's almost laughable. How can anybody, I mean, that's an individual, but it's only the United States Census Bureau, so.
No, they don't know what they're talking about.
But what the hell? And like I said, while she's making $2,692, I got to just give you those figures just to irritate you before the end of the show, just to get you as aggravated as I am when I look at somebody making over $2,500 a week. And while you're trying to get to $400. This is just, the haves and the have-nots. And if you think they care about you, just listen to our mayor when he justifies these pay raises by saying they should get what they're comparable. Well, you know something, Kathy and Mary, you want to get Boston money, you want to get San Francisco money, buy a ticket and go there. See if you can get a job with your credentials.
Exactly.
Because what did Mary Sahadi do before this? She was on a housing authority. She worked for a company that made most of its money auditing this city, and not very well, by the way. So she doesn't have she didn't work for Ernst & Young. Kathy Ann wasn't the financial officer for a major corporation. She actually went bankrupt, and she didn't hit the mega bucks. She probably wouldn't be solvent right now. So that's
she was a mall manager, wasn't
those are the facts. Yeah, she was a mall manager. So, 140 grand in Fall River. People don't come to Fall River and opt to come to Fall River to work that are qualified to work. It's just like a doctor. You got a shot in working in Boston at Mass General and making $1 million a year. You can come to Fall River and make a couple $100,000. You don't come to Fall River if you can get into Boston. But if you can't get into Boston, you need a job. So let's face it. Just like water seeks its own level, financial teams seek their own level.
Yeah. Somebody just asked me who the woman was that told us to move out of the city. Her name was Lopes Finnery. She lives on Woodman, I believe, Street. And she said, quote unquote, I feel bad for people who can't afford to live in Fall River, but if they can't afford to pay these taxes, they should sell their house to somebody who cares about Fall River. And basically, she said, move out of Fall River.
Well, because you're poor, you don't care about Fall River.
That's
because
right.
You can't afford your taxes. I don't know what kind of convoluted logic that is. But, you feel bad for them, but get out. Where are they going to go? This is the poorest city in the state. If they can't get a place to live here, where are they going to go? And they're going to lose a house they worked their whole life to? Talk about insensitivity. Some of these people worked 40 years and are on a fixed income, have had their house paid for decades, and now just can't afford to pay the damn taxes and the fees of this city. Because let's face it, as we always say, if you only got $5 in your pocket, an $8 hamburger is expensive.
That's true.
So welcome to the McDonald's dollar meal. Because that's what this city is.
It's not even a dollar meal anymore. It's a $1, $2, or $3 meal.
That's right. If you want, and even that, it's just like I said, this is just, we're seeing it, a tale of two cities, people. And if you don't get angry about this, you don't have a pulse.
Yeah, nothing's going to do it. Hey, thanks for watching. Stay angry, people, and we'll see you on Monday. It's going to be a nice warm weekend, so enjoy it.